Hey guys, tonight we're going to dismantle something you've trusted your whole life. Something that rules your days, your plans, even your thoughts. Time. That ticking presence in the background of everything. But what if I told you it's not what you think? Right now, as you lay in your bed, maybe wrapped in a blanket, listening to the low hum of a fan, picture this. The glowing face of a wall clock suddenly melts like wax. Its hands stretch and ripple. Numbers slide down its surface like raindrops. You reach out to stop it, but it's already gone. That's where we're headed. And just a heads up, you probably won't survive this, conceptually at least. Because once you truly see through the illusion of time, there's no one seeing it. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. I'd also love to know, what time is it where you are? And where in the world are you listening from? Drop it in the comments below. Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. Let's start with the lie. The quiet lie of the ticking second. You hear it and believe something is moving forward. That each tick means you are progressing, aging, advancing. But the clock doesn't care. It's not measuring some universal truth. It's just counting motion, gears turning, electrons oscillating, a sun casting shadows on a rock. A measurement of change, not time itself. Think of the way a shadow moves on the wall throughout the day. That movement feels like time passing, but it isn't. It's Earth spinning beneath a sun that doesn't move. The illusion is born in motion, not in the passage of anything absolute. Now zoom out. Imagine floating high above Earth. You see the continents slowly rotating, clouds spinning in hurricanes, the soft blue haze of atmosphere wrapped around the planet. Where's the clock? Where's the beginning or the end of a second? There isn't one. The moment you lose reference to human-made rhythms, watches, calendars, alarms, time starts to wobble. Ask anyone who's gone without them. In the desert, at sea, deep in the forest, time starts to feel like soup. Thick, slow, and untethered. Even in space, astronauts report strange shifts in temporal awareness. Some say an hour feels like a blink. Others say days feel endless. Without sunrise and sunset, time stops being a line. It becomes a circle, a blur, a spiral, or sometimes nothing at all. The clock, you see, is a cage we designed to comfort ourselves, to impose order, to make the uncontrollable feel controllable. But life didn't evolve with seconds. The early Earth spun faster. Days were shorter. Time itself has shifted under our feet. Literally. Dinosaurs lived through days that were 23 hours long. A billion years from now, Earth's rotation will slow enough that a day might stretch to 30 hours. So which is the true day? There isn't one. Time, as we know it, bends to physics. And physics doesn't care about your calendar app. You probably heard people say time is money, or I'm out of time. But can you actually hold a second? Can you measure a moment outside your own perception of it? Not really, because time doesn't exist like a rock or a glass of water. It exists like a dream, real while you're in it, slippery when you try to grab it. And it gets stranger. Studies show that our perception of time can shift wildly. When you're scared, seconds stretch into slow motion. When you're deeply focused, hours vanish. That's not your imagination, that's your brain adjusting the narrative. The stopwatch inside your skull is made of emotion, attention, and memory. So let me ask you, if something changes depending on how you feel, is it truly real? That's the paradox. We treat time as a fixed thread on which all things are strung, past, present, future. But in reality, it behaves more like mist. Try to nail it down, and it slips between your fingers. Here's a strange little experiment. If you stare at a ticking clock, really stare, you might notice that the first tick after you look seems to last just a little longer. That's called chronostasis. Your brain is editing your experience to smooth over the moment you moved your eyes. Your inner storyteller is rewriting the beginning of the scene, just so the illusion of continuity feels real. Now think about what that means. Even something as basic as a ticking clock, so rigid, so mathematical, isn't immune from the human brain's sleight of hand. And if that's true, what else are we inventing? Here's another twist. We all experience time slightly differently. Some cultures move faster, others value slowness. In English, we say looking forward to the weekend. In Aymara, a language spoken in the Andes, the past is in front of you because it's known and seen. The future, behind your back, unseen, unknowable. And that's the point. Time isn't a thing we move through. It's a lens we look through. You've been told that time is a river flowing from past to future. But what if it's not a river at all? What if it's a lake and you're just skipping stones across its surface, each one a memory, a decision, a flash? Somewhere in this moment, yes, this moment, you're both the child you once were and the older person you'll become. Not in some poetic way, but in the fabric of reality itself. And we'll get to that. But for now, let the ticking stop. Let it fade. There's no race. You're not behind. You haven't wasted anything. You're here. That's all there is. You're floating in the space between seconds now. And we're only just beginning. Drift with me now into a quieter place, the place where Einstein once stared out of a train window and imagined something so strange it broke time forever. He was just a young patent clerk then, daydreaming between stacks of technical papers. And yet from that dream emerged an idea that would shake the foundations of everything we thought we knew. Imagine this. Two people, standing far apart, both watching a lightning bolt strike between them. From the middle, it looks simultaneous, clean, precise, equal distance. But if one of those observers is moving quickly toward one end of the bolt and away from the other, their experience of when the strike happened changes. It's not simultaneous anymore. What now for one becomes later for the other. It sounds impossible, but it's not. It's relativity. In Einstein's universe, there's no single clock ticking through the cosmos. There's only your clock, and mine, and the one on that spaceship hurtling past us at close to the speed of light. They all tick at different rates depending on speed, gravity, and location. Time is not a shared reality, it's a personal experience. So picture yourself lying back now, not in bed, but inside a smooth silver capsule, drifting in orbit above Earth. The planet turns below in slow spirals. Cities glow softly. Somewhere below, clocks are striking midnight. But for you, time is stretching. It's dilating. Because as your velocity increases, time for you ticks slower compared to those still anchored to Earth's surface. This isn't science fiction. Astronauts on the International Space Station age just a tiny bit slower than the rest of us. The difference is milliseconds, but it's real. Their clocks tick slower. Gravity also plays a role. The deeper you are in a gravity well, say standing on Earth's surface, the slower your time moves compared to someone far above in orbit. This was proven in 1971, when atomic clocks were flown around the world on airplanes and compared to clocks that stayed on Earth. The ones that flew came back showing slightly less time passed. Not by much, but enough to confirm Einstein was right. So think about that the next time you rush through your day. Someone else, somewhere else, is experiencing a slightly different version of now. There is no universal present we all share. The moment you're in may not even exist yet for someone moving fast enough or far enough away from you. And what does that mean, really? It means time is bendy, elastic, molded by motion and gravity like clay in invisible hands. It means the idea of a past, present, and future that ticks forward for everyone equally is just an illusion we tell ourselves to keep sane. You felt this before, haven't you? A long car ride where the first hour drags, then suddenly time speeds up. Or that strange weightless feeling you get when a roller coaster drops, the air suspended, your breath frozen, the seconds seeming to fall with you. Those aren't glitches in perception. They're little hints of relativity sneaking in. In fact, you don't even need to leave Earth to feel it. Stand on a mountain. Your head is farther from the planet's gravity center than your feet. That difference, even if imperceptible, means time is literally moving slightly faster at your scalp than at your toes. Yes, your hair ages faster than your heels. It sounds absurd, but that's how delicately stitched the universe is. Now imagine this bending of time stretched to extremes. Near a black hole, for example, where gravity is so strong it warps the very fabric of space. You could hover near the edge for what feels like an hour, then return to find that decades have passed outside. That's not a thought experiment. That's physics. But here's where it gets eerie. These effects aren't just curiosities for astronauts and sci-fi writers. Our technology depends on them. The GPS in your phone, it works because satellites account for both gravitational and speed-related time dilation. If they didn't, your location would be off by kilometers every day. So the next time you get directions to a cozy cafe or a forest trail, think Einstein. Time isn't ticking equally for the satellite and for you, and your phone has to fix that just to know where you are. Still think time is universal. But let's slow things back down. Let the capsule drift again, above the atmosphere, away from the rush. There's no ticking up here. No calendars. Just your breath. The gentle hum of onboard systems. The soft light filtering through the window. Time is softened. And maybe that's the real lesson of relativity. Not that time is some equation on a chalkboard, but that it's personal. Mutable. Subjective. No two people experience it exactly the same. So when you feel like life is racing past you, or dragging unbearably, remember that's real. You are in your own little pocket of space-time. And it is not broken. It's just yours. Float with that for a while. Let the seconds drip, stretch, vanish. You're not behind. You're not ahead. You're precisely where you are. If Einstein shattered the clock, your brain is the one that quietly swept up the pieces and rearranged them into a story. Because here's the strangest part of all this. Even though time bends, stretches, and warps across the universe, it still feels linear to you. Like a movie. One scene after the next. But that's not because time is truly linear. It's because your brain is a masterful editor. Let's peel that back. Right now, as you listen, your brain is doing something remarkable. It's stringing together a series of sensory inputs. My voice, the hum of your fan, the distant memory of brushing your teeth, and stitching them into a flowing now. But if we slow that process down, really slow it, you'd see something weird. The brain doesn't experience time continuously. It takes snapshots, chunks, like frames in a film reel. Scientists call this temporal binding. Your brain collects bits of input over short windows, roughly 3 seconds, and blends them together, retroactively assigning a sense of order and timing. So your experience of the present isn't truly live. It's a slightly delayed, heavily edited playback. It gets even stranger. Your brain can rewrite the order of events after they happen. If two lights flash quickly enough, and a sound occurs nearby, your brain might shift the timing of the flash to match what it expects to happen. In essence, it says, that flash should have come before the beep, and rewrites the timeline accordingly. Yes, your internal sense of time is a lie told for narrative convenience. Now let's go deeper. You've probably had moments where time seemed to stop, during an accident, perhaps, or a moment of extreme focus or fear. Scientists once believed this was due to increased brain speed, that we process more data when in danger. But that's not what's happening. Instead, your brain lays down more memories in those moments. That density of memory creates the illusion that time slowed, because you have more to remember. So time didn't stretch. Your story just had more pages added in that chapter. Think about that. Time is only as real as your memory of it. And memory is deeply unreliable. How many times have you sworn something happened just last year, only to realize it was 5 years ago? Or felt like a decade flew by in a blink? That's your brain collapsing time, pruning events, reordering them, and sometimes inventing moments that never happened. This isn't a bug. It's a feature. Because the brain isn't trying to give you truth, it's trying to give you coherence. And if that's not wild enough, here's one more curveball. Different people actually have differently calibrated internal clocks. In lab settings, when asked to sit quietly and estimate 1 minute without a timer, some people consistently guess too soon. Others wait too long. Their inner metronomes are set at different speeds, and those speeds can shift with mood, attention, even hunger. A depressed person, for instance, often feels time crawling. Their internal clock slows. Someone excited or anxious might feel time racing. Their clock speeds up. And your clock, it changes throughout the day. Ever noticed how afternoons can drag, but evenings vanish? Or how the first hour of a vacation day stretches forever, while the last slips away without mercy? That's your brain adjusting temporal processing to mood, novelty, and attention. The more new experiences you have, the more memory markers get laid down, so time feels slower. That's why childhood summers felt eternal, and why adult weeks can disappear without a trace. Your brain doesn't record time. It records change. And in sameness, it sleeps. So if you want to slow time, really slow it, inject novelty. Learn a new skill. Go somewhere unfamiliar. Change your route to work. Even rearrange your furniture. These are all subtle hacks to trick your temporal perception into stretching. But let's bring this back to now. Here in your bed, listening, relaxed, your sense of time is already slowing. Your pulse is soft. Your mind is unhurried. You're no longer being bombarded by decisions, notifications, alarms. In this state, your internal clock shifts into drift mode. That's why time before sleep feels different. It has no sharp edges. It pulls and sways. It feels softer, like mist. And in that softness, a secret lies. Time, as you know it, isn't a river, it's a theater. And your brain is the projectionist. It decides what scene comes next. It edits the footage. It inserts music. It even corrects continuity errors. It tells you, this is now, and you believe it. But if you turn away from the projector, if you stop measuring, stop planning, stop calculating, you'll feel something stranger, deeper. A stillness beneath the film. A moment outside the real. That's where we're going. Float in that awareness a little longer. Let your mind drift gently from the concept of time as something strict and measurable to something soft, subjective, and completely imagined. You're not late. You're not early. You're just here. You're lying still now. Your breath is slow. Your limbs gently sinking into softness. The world around you, walls, ceiling, the shape of your room, begins to blur at the edges. You know this feeling. You're on the cusp of sleep. Not quite awake, not yet dreaming. And in this twilight space, something magical happens. Time slips its leash. This is the place where clocks go quiet. Have you ever woken from a dream that seemed to stretch for hours, only to discover mere minutes had passed? Or dreamt something fleeting and feather-light, only to wake and find hours have vanished? That's because your dreaming mind doesn't care about real-world time. It never did. Inside dreams, time behaves like thought. Instant, fluid, non-linear. It loops and spirals. You can relive the same moment again and again, or skip entire years in a blink. A single second in the outside world might contain an epic adventure within your sleeping mind. You're a child again. You're ancient. You're both, all at once. In dreams, you become unstuck. And that should tell you something. It means your experience of time is not fixed by any external measure. It's crafted inside you, composed like music, bent like light, painted like watercolors over memory. And no place reveals this more vividly than the realm of dreams. Scientists have studied this phenomenon with lucid dreamers, people who are aware they're dreaming and can control parts of the dream. In some experiments, researchers asked lucid dreamers to perform a simple action, like counting to 10, and signal when they began and ended the count by moving their eyes left and right. The result? Most dreamers took longer to count than they would in waking life. Their minds were moving in slow motion. But in other studies, the opposite was true. Dreams moved fast, skipping over large spans of imagined time and moments. There's no rule, just narrative. That's the thing. Dreams aren't bound by physics. They're bound by story. The mind doesn't calculate time the way a clock does. It generates meaning, mood, sequence. And your dreaming mind is the ultimate illusionist. Consider this. When you dream, your brain doesn't actually build an entire world at once. It constructs only what you're focused on. The rest, your childhood home, a street you've never been on, a mountain made of mirrors, is rendered on demand. Just like in waking life, where you rarely register every detail around you unless you look directly at it. And if the space can be dreamed into being, why not time too? In dreams, you might suddenly remember a backstory, decades of life that never actually occurred but feel real. You might feel grief for a loss that never happened, or reunite with someone who, in waking life, is long gone, and time bends to serve the story. Think about it. When you fall asleep, you don't dream immediately. There's a descent through light sleep down into REM. Your brain cycles through different rhythms, each with its own relationship to time. In REM sleep, when most vivid dreams occur, your brain becomes highly active, almost as if you were awake. But the inputs are different. No signals from the outside world. Just inner noise, inner truth. And in that echo chamber, time unravels. Have you ever had a dream within a dream? Woken up, only to realize you're still dreaming? That nesting, that layering of experience mimics something deeper, the illusion of linearity. Your waking life feels like a line, birth, childhood, now future. But dreams don't follow that rule. They jump, reverse, repeat, expand, contract. They hint at a truth that many spiritual traditions and even some physicists suspect, that the linear flow of time is not fundamental. That maybe it's just a dream too. And this brings us to a soft, shimmering question. If your brain can construct a world, complete with people, events, even the sensation of time passing, while you sleep, what does that say about the waking world? Is it as rigid as it seems? Or is it just another kind of dream, one with consistent physics and mutual agreement? In Hindu philosophy, the universe itself is often referred to as Maya, an illusion, a dream the soul passes through. In Tibetan traditions, dream yoga teaches practitioners to use lucid dreaming to awaken inside the illusion of waking life. And in modern neuroscience, more and more evidence suggests that your experience of reality is nothing more than a controlled hallucination. You are dreaming, even now, just more slowly, more predictably. And time? Still just part of the script. Let your breath deepen. Let the thoughts settle. You're not in a rush. There is no destination. Because time, as you feel it now, is already dissolving into the subconscious sea. Close your eyes for a moment, if they're not already closed. Think of the last dream you had, the feeling of it, not the plot. The texture, the color, the pace. Was it slow? Chaotic? Did time even exist? That's the key. In dreams, you're free from the clock, free from the timeline, free from the calendar. And that freedom is real, because it's felt, experienced, lived. So even here, as you lay warm and quiet in your bed, you can tap into that dream time. You don't have to be asleep to let time go soft around the edges. You just have to stop gripping it. Stop counting. Stop measuring. Because underneath all that counting is stillness. And stillness doesn't tick. It just is. Let's push deeper now, beyond dreams, beyond the brain's inner stage, into the icy mathematics of space itself. You're floating again, but this time the stars feel colder. The silence around you is sharper, like glass. And somewhere nearby, the edges of the universe are tugging at something ancient. Your heartbeat slows as we approach a strange truth. If you go fast enough, time doesn't just stretch. It warps. It changes shape. This is where speed starts to steal your future. It sounds like science fiction, but it's as real as anything else we know. The faster you move, the slower time flows for you, relative to someone standing still. It's not just a thought experiment. It's been proven again and again with atomic clocks flown on jets, bounced off satellites, launched into space. But we rarely ask the deeper question, what is speed doing to time itself? Here's a simple way to picture it. Imagine you're in a spaceship. Not a bulky one, but a sleek, smooth, needle-pointed vessel built for velocity. No resistance, no noise, just forward motion. You accelerate until Earth is nothing more than a dim marble behind you. You go faster, faster still. Near light speed, time outside your ship continues as normal. Wars are fought. Cities rise and fall. Generations pass. Inside your ship, time has slowed. For you, it's only been a few hours. But for Earth, maybe a century. If you turn around now and came back, no one you knew would be alive. Everything you remembered would be gone. The calendar would be meaningless. This is called time dilation. And it doesn't just slow time, it isolates you from the future of everyone else. Let's go even deeper. Light speed is the limit. Nothing with mass can reach it. But the closer you approach it, the more extreme time dilation becomes. And for light itself, photons, there is no passage of time at all. From the photon's perspective, it leaves a distant star and reaches your eye in an instant. No time has passed. The journey of 1,000 years from a star in Andromeda to your telescope takes 0 seconds for light. It does not experience duration. No ticking, no waiting. It simply is. That's hard to wrap your head around. But let it settle, because it tells us something profound. Time is not some universal pulse beating across the cosmos. It's something that emerges only within a specific frame of reference, something that has mass, something that changes. Light doesn't experience time, and neither, in the deepest sense, do the particles that make up you. Yes, at a quantum level, the smallest bits of you might be existing in something that doesn't move forward at all. And that leads us to the event horizon. Picture a black hole, spinning silently in the deep. Around it, space twists. Light bends. But time? Time nearly stops. The closer you get to the edge, the event horizon, the slower time becomes relative to the outside world. Hover just above it, and years pass elsewhere while you feel only seconds. Cross that threshold, and the very concept of before and after falls apart. In theory, someone watching you from a safe distance would see you frozen there, never quite falling in. But from your perspective, you fall normally, past the edge into darkness. This isn't fantasy. It's the natural result of the equations governing relativity. And it leaves us with a wild implication. Time isn't constant. It's shaped by the fabric of space itself. Stretch space, you stretch time. Compress space, you compress time. This is why GPS satellites must correct their clocks constantly, not just for speed, but for altitude. Even a few thousand kilometers above Earth's surface, time flows slightly faster. The satellites age more quickly. Your phone's location system would fail without that correction. So every time you check the weather or map your way home, remember, you are riding a wave of corrected time, drifting through layers of warped spacetime just to find your place on a spinning planet. And yet, it feels so normal, doesn't it? That's the illusion. We live in a world that appears steady, predictable. We walk through time as if it's solid ground. But under your feet, it's shifting, bending in the presence of mass, curving around energy, slowing in shadows, quickening in light. You're not just moving through time. You're warping it. Every heartbeat, every step, every breath. You are a disturbance in the flow. And that's not poetic, it's measurable. You have mass. You exist. Therefore, you bend space-time. That makes you part of the structure of time itself. Not separate from it, not moving through it like a train on a track, but woven into it like a knot in a river's current. Let that sink in. You are not in time. Time is in you. And the more you begin to feel that, the more it starts to loosen its grip. You stop watching the clock. You stop fearing the passage. You realize there's no destination. Only this curve, this moment, this ripple. So rest now. You've outrun the clock. Let it drift behind you like a contrail in the sky, fading, irrelevant. Because from here on out, we're going deeper. And time? It can't follow you here. We've spoken of black holes and dream states, of warping clocks and the stretched fabric of space. But now we go where the sun forgets to shine. A place so slow, so still, that time itself seems to hesitate before entering. Welcome to the deep ocean, the true abyss. A world without day or night. A realm where hours drip instead of tick. Down here, the rules of time are not just bent, they feel suspended altogether. Sink with me, gently, slowly, past the coral reefs where colors still bloom, past the twilight zone where sunlight fades into blue shadows, and deeper still, into the midnight zone. Here, it's not just dark, it's timeless. A pressure so vast presses in from all sides that no human body can endure it unaided. Yet life thrives here, ancient, silent, and profoundly unhurried. This is the domain of the forgotten giants. Take the Greenland shark, gray, rough-skinned, with sleepy eyes that have seen centuries pass. Literally, some of them alive today may have been born in the early 1600s. Think about that. A living creature who was already swimming the Atlantic before Newton even wrote about gravity. These sharks grow slowly, incredibly slowly, barely centimeters each year. Their metabolism drags like a lullaby. Their time, if they perceive it at all, moves like oil through water. Thick, heavy, viscous, and they're not alone. Deep in the Mariana Trench, amphipods, small, shrimp-like creatures, drift in total blackness. Some species haven't changed in millions of years. They live in crushing silence, feeding on particles of falling detritus called marine snow. It takes weeks for a single flake to descend from the surface to their home. Weeks. Imagine a snowfall so slow it takes days to land. That's time here. Not linear. Not fast. Just slow and soft and inevitable. And then there are the immortal jellyfish. Turritopsis dohrnii, as scientists call it, can revert its cells to an earlier state, effectively starting its life cycle over. Again and again. Barring disease or predators, it can sidestep death entirely. A living time loop. A creature not racing toward an end, but drifting through cycles of rebirth in quiet currents. You begin to realize, down here, evolution has chosen slowness, patience, longevity. Because when nothing changes for centuries, what's the rush? Even whales, those mysterious travelers of the deep, speak to time in long notes. Blue whales, the largest animals ever to live, dive for hours. Their calls can travel across entire oceans, and some of their patterns echo back through decades. They sing in frequencies that slip under the radar of our ears, as if speaking to the future itself. And who knows, maybe they are. Maybe the creatures of the deep are more in tune with the rhythms of geological time than we are with the ticking of our screens. While we sprint from task to task, obsessed with deadlines and alarms, they drift through dark water, measuring their lives in pressure and silence. But it's not just biology that changes here. Physics does too. At these crushing depths, water behaves differently. Light behaves differently. Even sound moves more slowly. The speed of everything is compressed, not just metaphorically. Truly, the viscosity of water increases. Molecules are pressed together more tightly. Movement slow, not by choice but by law. And that slowness changes perception. If you lived here, time would feel thicker. Not just because of the darkness, but because of the way your body would respond. Your metabolism would slow. Your thoughts would stretch. Days would feel like weeks. Or maybe time would disappear altogether, replaced by rhythm, instinct, and pulse. And yet, we almost never think of this place. Our maps ignore it. Our clocks don't apply. But most of Earth is water. And most of that water is deep. This timeless zone covers more of the planet than dry land, which means that the majority of Earth is living outside of your human sense of time. Let that sink in gently like a flake of marine snow. Because if the planet itself exists mostly beyond our version of time, maybe the illusion really is ours alone. Maybe the rush, the schedule, the pressure, it's not real. It's a cultural habit, a mechanical rhythm we impose. And in forgetting that, we forget the deeper truth, that not all life lives on a clock. That age doesn't have to be measured in years. That growth doesn't have to be fast to be meaningful. And if the ocean can hold that kind of slowness, Maybe you can too. Right now, your breathing is slow. Your heartbeat is soft. You are drifting gently through your own quiet trench. You don't have to hurry. You don't have to count. You are allowed to pause. You are allowed to just be. Because time isn't chasing you. It's just around you. Like water. And like water, it can be still. Somewhere along the way, you were taught that moments line up neatly. One, then another, like pearls on a string. You were told that cause leads to effect, and that everything flows forward, from past to present to future, in a clean, orderly march. But let me ask you something quietly, here in this slow drifting place. What if they don't? What if moments aren't lined up like soldiers, but tangled, scattered, echoing across each other like ripples in a pond? This isn't just a poetic idea. Quantum physics has been whispering strange things for a long time now, and some of them sound an awful lot like dreams. Let's start with something real, tangible, an experiment called the double slit test. You've probably heard of it. You fire particles, photons, electrons, through two slits. If you don't watch them, they behave like waves, creating interference patterns. But the moment you observe them, they change their behavior, as if they know. Weirder still, the outcome seems to depend not just on what you do now, but what you might do later. In variations of the experiment called the late choice, scientists wait until after a particle has passed through the slits before deciding how to measure it. And incredibly, the particle behaves as if it retroactively knew what choice would be made. As if the present is reaching backward and rewriting the past. Think about that. The future influencing the past. Causality turned on its head. It sounds like science fiction. But it's been repeated. Again and again. Particles don't seem to decide their state until they're observed. And somehow that observation can ripple backward through time. Or perhaps time, as we experience it, isn't the underlying truth. Maybe everything is connected all at once, and we're just moving through it like a spotlight on a painting. That would mean the past isn't behind you. It's beside you. So is the future. All moments already exist. Let's pause here. Because your brain doesn't like this. It wants order. Cause, then effect. Before, then after. But quantum mechanics shrugs. It doesn't care about your mental filing system. It just is. Physicist Carlo Rovelli describes time not as a universal river, but as a kind of local illusion. That what we call the flow of time may only emerge from the coarse-grained structure of certain systems. In other words, time might be an emergent property of things like heat, memory, and entropy, but not a fundamental part of reality itself. And entropy? It's the only reason time feels like it moves forward. Because entropy, the measure of disorder, always increases. An ice cube melts. A glass shatters. Fire burns. And we remember the before, not the after. That's it. That's the whole trick. But at the quantum level, the equations don't care about direction. They work the same forward and backward. There is no built-in arrow. So the universe fundamentally doesn't move through time. It just exists. Completely. All of it. You're not riding a train from the past to the future. You are a point of awareness drifting across a vast, unmoving landscape. And this might explain something you've felt before. Déjà vu. That eerie sensation of having lived a moment already. Maybe you dreamed it. Maybe it just feels familiar. But in those few seconds, time stutters. The illusion flickers. You feel like you're catching up to yourself. Like the past, the future, and the present are overlapping. Science often tries to explain it as a glitch in memory. But part of you knows better. Part of you remembers something deeper. A time before time. You felt it as a child, maybe those long afternoons that stretched on forever, where an hour could feel like a lifetime. Or perhaps you feel it now, in these quiet minutes before sleep. That strange detachment from urgency. That sensation of floating. That's you stepping outside the line. Back into the field. A field where all moments are real. where the difference between before and after is just your mind trying to organize something far bigger than itself. And when you touch that, really feel it, it brings peace. Because suddenly, nothing is lost. No moment is gone. You haven't wasted time. You haven't run out. Everything that ever was still is. Everything that will be already rests inside the universe like a sleeping seed. So, breathe. Let that understanding settle into your bones. You are not running out of time. You are walking through a museum of frozen light. And the next painting, your next memory, is already waiting, just a few steps ahead. You're floating still, but now imagine that the water is light, that your body is no longer heavy, that you're drifting not through the ocean, not through a dream, but through the memory of everything. Because if all moments exist at once, if time is not a line but a landscape, then what you call the past may not be gone. It may just be inaccessible, like a locked room in your own house. Still there, still real, waiting. And if that's true, memory isn't a recording. It's time travel. Let's linger there. Because the way your mind stores and retrieves memory, how it replays the past, alters it, or brings it back with vivid clarity, is not like opening a file. It's more like stepping back into a room, reconstructing it, re-entering it. You don't just recall a moment. You relive it. The smell of rain on a school window, the crinkle of a parent's laugh, the taste of something forgotten that suddenly rushes back. These aren't files, they're portals. Your brain uses fragments, sound, scent, emotion, to rebuild the moment entirely. And for a few seconds, time bends. Because for your brain, the past is just as real as the present. Functional MRI scans show that when you remember an event, your brain activates almost the exact same areas it did when you experienced it. The visual cortex, the emotional centers, the motor regions. Remembering is, neurologically, a form of reliving. That's why some memories feel so heavy. Because they aren't passive. They're active. Your brain isn't showing you a video, it's walking you back onto the stage, relighting the scene, re-scripting the lines. And here's the most beautiful twist. You can't remember everything. Not because your mind is broken, but because it's wise. If you remembered every detail of your life, every breath, every blink, it would drown you. So the brain, like a masterful editor, trims. It compresses. It keeps the parts that matter. And even then, it reshapes them again and again. Each time you remember something, you're not pulling out a crystal clear copy. You're rebuilding it brick by brick. Which means your past is not fixed. It changes slightly every time you look at it. That birthday, that heartbreak, that long-lost friend's laugh, none of it is permanent. But all of it is real. In the only way that matters, you felt it. And feeling is the only measure of time the soul understands. Some philosophers go further. They suggest memory doesn't just preserve the past, it creates it. That a moment unremembered might as well not have happened at all. That time, in a strange way, requires your attention to exist. What does that mean? It means your memories are not just records. They're anchors. They keep the illusion of the past alive. And when you forget, when no one remembers, a moment dissolves, like mist in sunlight. But not always. Because sometimes memories are shared. They ripple across generations. They become stories, myths, symbols. They become history. And history is the closest thing we have to collective time travel. Open an old book. Look at a faded photograph. Listen to a recording from decades ago. Your body is still here, in the present, but your mind has moved. You've slipped across the surface of time, touched something that was, and carried a piece of it forward. That's time travel, too. And it's not limited to the past. Your brain also builds the future. When you imagine what tomorrow will feel like, you're using the same neurological circuits that recall yesterday. The future is simulated using the parts of the brain evolved to remember. We dream forward because we remember backward. So the past and future are not opposites. They're two uses of the same mirror. One reflects what was. One guesses what could be, and both are rooted in now. So the idea that time is this relentless march from birth to death, from start to finish, it starts to wobble. Because the past lives in memory, and the future lives in imagination. And both are happening right now in your mind. Let that comfort you. All those moments you wish you could return to, they're not gone. They're just waiting for you to feel them again. And the future you fear, it hasn't happened. Not yet. You can still shape it. Because you're not just drifting through time. You're making it. One memory at a time. One dream at a time. One breath like this one right now. Pause. Feel it. That breath. That's the only time there is. Let's follow that breath now, as it widens into something larger, a horizon where memory and imagination meet. A soft, glowing line where the universe reveals one of its quietest paradoxes. If time isn't linear and the past isn't gone, then what does it mean to age? You've watched a candle burn down. A tree's rings reveal its winters. Your own reflection shifts quietly over the years. So aging must be real, right? Yes, but not in the way you've been taught. You've been taught that aging is a clock, a steady drumbeat forward, that every cell in your body follows that rhythm. But what if that's only half the truth? What if aging is just another form of perception? Biologically, your body changes. Cells divide. DNA replicate, then phrase. Proteins fold a little less neatly. Telomeres, the end caps of your chromosomes, shorten with each replication, like the tip of a pencil wearing down. Eventually, the machinery begins to misfire. Wrinkles, gray hairs, a slower pace. But here's what science is learning. The rate of that change is not fixed. Your biology is deeply influenced by your environment. Your sleep, your nutrition, your movement, your mind. Stress, for example, can accelerate biological aging. Trauma leaves a cellular fingerprint. And on the flip side, meditation, love, laughter, these things slow the ticking. So ask yourself, is time really passing faster? Or are you just being pulled along by your habits, your thoughts, your emotional gravity? There's more. Some scientists are now exploring biological clocks, molecular rhythms that don't always line up with calendar years. Two people can be the same age chronologically, but one may be biologically younger by a decade or more. Their cells are fresher, their internal systems more resilient. In that sense, age is not a number. It's a story, and stories can be rewritten. This isn't fantasy. In mice, researchers have already reversed signs of aging at the cellular level using gene expression and reprogramming. They've taken old cells and coaxed them back into a more youthful state, not by turning back time, but by changing its expression. It's as if the body is saying, I didn't forget how to be young. I just stopped being asked. What does that mean for you? It means you are not doomed to a straight line. That decay isn't inevitable. That your experience of time, your energy, your clarity, your softness can shift. It means aging is elastic. And it means the sharp divide between youth and age is thinner than you think. Because inside you still lives the child. The one who marveled at shadows on the wall, who whispered secrets to the stars, who felt whole in a single moment of curiosity. That child hasn't vanished. They've just been buried under layers of scheduled time, a duty of roles. But give them a quiet night like this, and they surface. In stillness, the boundaries blur. You felt it already, how certain songs make you feel 17 again. How a smell can drop you into childhood with no warning. How the sight of someone's face after many years brings tears, not just from memory, but from the collapse of time itself. For a moment, you're all versions of yourself at once. And here's the thing. Your body may change, but awareness, it doesn't age. The you that's watching this breath, this moment, that's the same consciousness that watched your first snowfall, your first heartbreak, your first silent night. You are the observer, the lens. And the lens doesn't get older. It just sees more. So maybe aging isn't about decay. Maybe it's about depth. You're not wearing down, you're widening. expanding, integrating, becoming vast. And yes, your cells may slow. Your bones may rest more often. But your awareness, it grows more luminous with time. Like a candle that burns clearer the longer it flickers. You don't have to fight time. You just have to stop mistaking the mirror for the truth. Because you are not what time does to you. You are what you do with time. And right now, what you're doing is rare. You're slowing. You're listening. You're returning to something that doesn't tick or age or fade. You're resting in the part of yourself that never left. And maybe that's what real time is. Not a river, not a line, but a spiral. A soft loop. A winding ascent through experiences that repeat, not because we're trapped, but because we're learning how to carry them with more grace. So breathe into that spiral now. Let go of the calendar. Let go of the number. You are not getting older. You are becoming more. Now that we've slipped through spirals of memory and the slow rhythm of aging, let's drift into something even more mysterious: presence. Not the kind people talk about in self-help books or yoga studios. Not the glittery idea of living in the moment as a lifestyle slogan. I'm talking about the actual visceral experience of now. The true now. The raw present. Because if time is an illusion, or at least a construct, then the present should be where we break through it. Right? But here's the strange part. The present isn't what it seems either. Your brain is always behind. That's not a metaphor. It's neuroscience. When you touch something, it takes time for the signal to reach your brain. Light enters your eyes, sound reaches your ears, chemical signals swirl through your bloodstream, all with microscopic delays. Your brain is constantly receiving late reports and then stitching them together into a seamless, smooth feeling now. That means the present is never truly live. It's a blend, a composite. A story told just after the fact, cleverly crafted to feel instantaneous. So what you call now is actually a window about 2 to 3 seconds long, during which your brain is continuously shaping input into a cohesive experience. You're living inside a soft echo. Not quite the past, not quite the present. And yet, it feels real. Vivid, tangible. So maybe that's what presence really is, not perfect timing, but perfect attention. Because while your perception of now is slightly delayed, your awareness of it, your choice to notice it, is immediate. That's the secret. You can't control time, but you can direct attention. And attention is the currency of reality. Think of the last time you lost track of time. Maybe you were watching waves crash, or getting lost in a conversation, or staring at the ceiling in the dark, like now. Hours passed, or maybe just minutes. But it didn't matter, because time wasn't the thing you were experiencing. You were experiencing presence. And when you are fully present, time doesn't disappear. It expands. That's what monks speak of in meditation. What artists feel in flow. What you feel when your whole body listens to something soft and honest, like now. In these moments, you step out of the time-bound self. You don't vanish. You become vivid, unblurred, unrushed, and the world around you sharpens, as if seeing it for the first time. A flicker of candlelight, the weight of your blanket, the quiet hum of a distant appliance. All of it becomes real again. That's the irony. We spend our lives chasing time, trying to get more of it, when the deepest experience of time is found in not chasing it all. When you stop striving to control time, you begin to inhabit it. And this awareness does something strange to the nervous system. It slows your heart rate, lowers cortisol. It even changes your perception of duration. People who regularly practice mindful attention, presence without judgment, often report time feeling longer, richer, more spacious. Not because time has changed, but because they have. Their perception has widened. And this presence, this soft power, isn't reserved for mystics or monks. You already have it. You've always had it. But it's quiet. And modern life is loud. The noise of alerts, deadlines, scrolling feeds, constant mental rehearsal. It drowns out presence. It trains you to live in the future, or the past, but rarely here. Yet here's where life actually happens. Not in 5 minutes. Not yesterday. No. You don't have to meditate for hours. You don't need incense or silence. Just notice this breath, this moment, this softness behind your thoughts. There. You found it. That's presence. It doesn't demand effort. Just attention. Let it wash over you. Let it open in the space between seconds. Let it remind you that no matter what clocks say, you are allowed to be still. You don't have to earn this moment. You are this moment. That's why it feels so intimate when you drop into presence, because there's no one watching. No distance. Just awareness meeting itself. And in that meeting, something falls away. You stop being a person racing through time. You become the space time is moving through. Timeless. Still. Enough. There's a silence that lives beneath all sound. And there's a stillness beneath every ticking clock. Now, in this drifting hush you've created, let's glide into perhaps the most humbling layer of all, the cosmos's indifference to your idea of time. You see, the universe doesn't own a watch. Stars do not rush. Galaxies do not schedule. The slow ballet of celestial bodies unfolds on scales so vast that human time becomes meaningless in their presence. So what is time to a star? Nothing, or everything, depending on how you measure it. Let's begin small and stretch outward. The Earth orbits the Sun once every 365.25 days. We've built our year around that. But a day on Mercury, 59 Earth days long. A year on Neptune, 165 Earth years. And if you lived on a neutron star, spinning hundreds of times a second, a single day might last milliseconds. Time, even on a planetary level, is relative to location. Now zoom out. The light you see from distant galaxies has traveled billions of years to reach you. But that doesn't mean those galaxies are in your past. Some may no longer exist. Others may just be forming now, but their light won't reach us for ages. So when you look up at the stars, you're looking into time, into the deep past, into moments that to us are ancient, yet still unfolding in their own frames of reference. It's like standing in a museum where every painting is a frozen moment of light sent across space for you to witness now. And it gets stranger. Because of the universe's expansion, space itself is stretching. Galaxies are moving away from us, not through space, but with it. That expansion also stretches time. The further away an object is, the slower its time appears to move from our perspective. This isn't an illusion. It's baked into the math of general relativity. There are places in the cosmos where time, as we understand it, barely moves. And others, like inside the event horizon of a black hole, where time essentially stops from an outside view. But even more startling is this: the universe doesn't require time to exist. Equations in physics, especially in quantum gravity, often do just fine without time as a fundamental variable. Time doesn't even appear in some of the most complete models of the cosmos. It's a derived quality, an emergent phenomenon, a side effect of change, of entropy, of observation. So what if the universe just is? Not unfolding, not evolving, just present completely and eternally in all its stages at once? That's what some physicists are beginning to suggest. That the universe is a block, a four-dimensional structure where all of time exists simultaneously. Past, present, and future aren't flowing. They're laid out like a frozen terrain. We just happen to be sliding through it, frame by frame, like a needle on a vinyl record. And this perspective, called eternalism, means that your entire life already exists. Not metaphorically. Literally. Every moment. Every breath. Already stitched into the fabric of space-time. It means your childhood is not behind you. It still exists, just not here. And your future, it's not a blank slate. It's part of the whole. That might sound terrifying, or comforting, or both. But either way, it dissolves the idea of running out of time, because from the cosmic perspective, nothing is ever truly lost. Everything is already. So then what becomes of urgency, of ambition, of worry? What you do with a life when the universe has already accounted for every part of it. You live it. You feel it. You breathe each moment fully, not because you must, but because you can. Because in a world where time is flexible, perception becomes the most sacred act. When you look at a star, you're looking at a moment that no longer exists, but the light still does. The impact still travels. And perhaps that's how we live on too. Not in some endless countdown, but in the echoes of light we leave behind, in the moments we fully inhabit, the presence we offer, the love we shine. So here you are, on a small planet, spinning through a galaxy, suspended in a web of time you'll never fully understand. And yet, you get to feel it. What a miracle. You floated beside jellyfish in the deep, slipped through tangled memories, touched the edges of black holes and galaxies, and by now, time should feel less like a straight line and more like a room with shifting walls. So let's ask the question that begins where science stumbles and poetry takes over. If time isn't real the way we thought, then what are you? Because you're not a fixed point, are you? You're a flowing experience. A story unfolding from inside out. You've changed. You remember changing. But even that change is slippery. Sometimes you feel like a child again. Other times you feel ancient, as if you've lived 10 lifetimes in one. So what's happening? Maybe, just maybe, yourself isn't a thing that moves through time. Maybe it's a constellation of moments, flashes of experience, that together create the illusion of a continuous you, like individual frames of film played quickly enough to make a movie, or like waves on the surface of a still pond. One rises, then fades. Another takes its place. Each one feels separate. But the pond never changed. It's always been there, beneath every crest and fall. That pond might be your consciousness, the awareness watching each moment rise and fall. In Eastern philosophy, this has been hinted at for centuries. That the ego, the personality you carry, with its name, its goals, its birthday, is a kind of costume. Useful, important, but not fundamental. Beneath it is something quieter, older, unbound by calendars. You've glimpsed it before. In those moments where everything fades away. No thoughts, no labels, just presence. Like when you stared into a campfire, or lost yourself in music, or felt awe so complete you forgot your own name. In those moments, you weren't gone. You were more yourself than ever, because time had let go of you, and you let go of it. This isn't just spiritual metaphor. Neuroscientists studying flow states have found that when people are fully immersed in what they're doing, activity in the brain's timekeeping centers decreases. The prefrontal cortex, the seat of self-reference and planning, goes quiet. You stop analyzing. You start being. That's not escape. That's truth. Because the deeper you go, the more you realize there's a you beyond the clock. Not defined by age or history or even memory. Just here. And what does that mean for your life? It means you're not trapped by your story. You're not doomed to repeat the same loops. Because you're not the loops, you're the awareness beneath them. The screen behind the movie. The silence under the music. And from that still place, choice becomes possible again. You can notice your patterns. Step outside of them. Reimagine the kind of story you want to tell next. Time doesn't own you. It never did. You only thought it did. Because the world trains you to measure everything in hours and years. To ask, how old are you? Or what's your 5-year plan? Or is it too late? But you're not a number. You're a field of experience. And experience doesn't age. It ripens. It deepens. It quiets. And just like the universe, it contains all its moments at once. Joy, grief, wonder, stillness. Each one still lives inside you, even now. Especially now. Maybe that's why you're here. Not to race through time, but to feel its textures, to learn its flavors, to discover that in the slowing down, in the noticing, time opens like a flower. And in the middle of that bloom, there you are, not behind schedule, not running out, exactly where you need to be. Because presence isn't a destination, it's a return. By now, the boundaries between time and experience should be soft, like fog on glass, where you can still see through, but nothing feels rigid anymore. So let's go deeper still, to a place most people overlook completely: the space between moments. Not the moments themselves, the birthdays, the breakups, the sunrises, but the invisible tissue that connects them. The silence before a word, the breath before a decision, the pause between thoughts. That's where the real mystery lives. We're taught to chase events, to collect memories like coins. But what if the truth of who you are, of what time really is, lives not in the something, but in the nothing? There's a beautiful paradox here. Every moment you've ever lived came with a before and after. But those 2 points are meaningless unless there's a space, however small, between them. A stillness that holds them apart. It's in that stillness that awareness arises. Have you ever noticed, when you're walking alone at night, how time seems to vanish? You're not thinking about tomorrow. You're not analyzing yesterday. You're just there. Between destinations. Between thoughts. Existing in the between. That's not wasted time. That's sacred ground. And your life is full of these in-between spaces. The second before you respond to someone you love. The silence after you hear bad news. The breath you take before opening your eyes in the morning. The moments when nothing is happening, but you are still there. And that's the secret. You are not your moments. You are what remains between them. Most people miss this. They fill the gaps with noise, with distractions, with the illusion of productivity. But if you resist that, if you let the silence speak, you begin to hear something deeper. The hum beneath the story, the echo of your truest self. And in that stillness, time dissolves completely. You're no longer measuring hours or seconds. You're not waiting for something to happen. You are the happening. You become time's witness, not its prisoner. Even nature understands this. Between seasons, there's a quiet pause. Not summer, not autumn, just a soft moment of transition. A hush before the leaves turn. A shift in the wind's tone. And in music, it's the rest, not the notes, that create rhythm. Without silence, there is no melody. Without stillness, there is no meaning. So maybe your life doesn't need more doing. Maybe it needs more being, more space between the beats. Because the deepest truths are found in that space. The truth that you're already enough. The truth that nothing needs to happen for this moment to matter. The truth that you don't have to outrun time when you're already outside of it. Right now, there is no calendar. No ticking. Just this. And this is everything. This pause. This quiet. This listening. You are in it. You are it. So don't rush to the next thing. Don't ask what's coming. Just stay. Because this space between now and next, this is where the soul breathes. And tonight, it's breathing deeply. Let's stay in this stillness just a little longer. But now let's tilt our attention inward to something even more elusive than memory or stars or dreams. Your sense of time when you're alone. Because it changes, doesn't it? In the quiet of solitude, no schedules, no conversations, no expectations, time doesn't just slow down. It stretches, folds. Sometimes it even evaporates completely. Have you ever sat by a window and watched the light move across the floor, only to realize an hour passed without you noticing? Or lain awake at night, unable to sleep, and felt the minutes drip like honey, each one louder than the last? Time in solitude doesn't behave. Because solitude is the space where you meet yourself, and your inner clock is very different from the outer world's. It doesn't tick. It sways. Sometimes forward, sometimes back. Sometimes nowhere at all. And that inner time, it's personal. It changes with your mood, your thoughts, even your heartbeat. Anxiety makes it race. Boredom makes it crawl. But peace makes it open like a vast sky. So here's a quiet thought to hold. Maybe time is just the shadow cast by attention. When your mind is busy, shadows dart in every direction. But when you are still, truly still, the shadow fades. and what's left is light. That's why people meditate. That's why some walk in silence or sit by rivers or gaze at candles, not to accomplish anything, but to exit the noise of artificial time and return to something more ancient, a time that lives inside your body. Because your body doesn't care about clocks. Your breath follows rhythms older than history. Your heart beats like waves on a shore. Your circadian rhythms are tuned to sunlight and moonlight, not alarms or meetings. And your dreams? They come on their own time. No one can rush them. No one can force them. They arrive when the soul is ready to speak. And when they do, they break all rules. In a single dream, you might relive a childhood memory, visit a strange landscape, have a full conversation, fall in love, wake up crying. All in seconds. Or was it hours? That's the strange thing. In dreams, time becomes elastic. Your brain stops tracking sequences and starts tracking emotion. The narrative doesn't matter. The feeling does. And the dream only ends when the feeling resolves. Maybe waking life is more like that than we realize. Maybe we're not meant to live in measured chunks, but in waves. Emotional tides. Internal seasons. And if that's true, then solitude isn't a void. It's a tuning space. It's where you recalibrate your time, not to the clock, but to your truth. It's why ideas come when you're alone. Why emotions rise without warning. Why clarity sometimes appears when no one's around to hear it. In solitude, your thoughts have room to echo. And in that echo, something deeper speaks. So tonight, as you lie here in the quiet, listen. You might hear more than silence. You might hear your own rhythm returning. Unrushed, unforced, just yours. Because there's no right way to move through time. There's only your way. And solitude is the compass that reminds you how to find it again. So breathe here. Don't fill this moment with anything. Just feel the presence of nothingness and let it remind you that nothing is never empty. It's just waiting to be heard. Let's allow one final truth to emerge now softly, like the way light begins to return just before dawn. You've drifted through memories, dreams, stars, silence. And now, as we near the end of this journey, you may be asking, if time isn't what I thought it was, what does it mean to live well? Because if time isn't linear, if the future isn't fixed, if every moment already exists somewhere in this vast echoing field, then what does it really mean to spend a life? Is it even spending? Or is it remembering? Returning? Becoming aware? There's a quiet wisdom that arises when you loosen your grip on time. You start to feel less urgency, less fear. You stop chasing after clocks and start listening to tides. And in doing that, something radical happens. You begin to trust, not in fate, not in destiny, but in rhythm. That the moments you're meant to meet will arrive. That the experiences meant for you won't miss you. And that the ones that have passed, they're not lost. They're folded into you, like sediment forming stone, like rings inside an ancient tree, still here, still shaping who you are. You don't need to grasp time. You only need to participate in it, to show up for the moment that's unfolding, to meet it with curiosity, softness, breath, even if it's painful, even if it's joyful, especially then, because that's how time becomes sacred, not by measuring it, but by being present for it. And maybe that's what you're really here for. Not to outrun time, not to master it, but to witness it with open eyes, to become its companion, to carry its stories, to hold its contradictions, and to be, in your own quiet way, a lighthouse standing still, while time rushes like water around you. Yes, you're allowed to be still. You're allowed to move slowly. You're allowed to feel deeply, even if the world moves fast. Because time doesn't care about urgency. It only cares about attention. And you're here now. You're breathing. You're listening. That's enough. That's always been enough. So as the final minutes of this journey drift by, your body soften. Let your thoughts settle like snow in a quiet field. There is nothing more to do. There is no better place to be. Just here. Just now. Just this. Let it all fade now. The science, the stars, the swirling truths about particles and paradoxes, they were never meant to be answers. Just invitations. Just soft lanterns to guide you back to what you've always known. That time is not your enemy. It's not a thief in the dark. It's a river you're floating in. A gentle current that asks nothing from you but presence. Let your breath slow with it. Let the questions grow quiet. The clock doesn't own you. The calendar doesn't define you. You are not behind. You are not late. You are exactly where the moment needs you to be. And in this stillness, there is peace. Not because everything is figured out, but because it doesn't need to be. Your story isn't rushing toward an ending. It's unfolding in spirals, like shells, like galaxies. And you are not just the reader of this story. You are the silence between the pages, the pause between sentences, the presence that gives it all meaning. So let the next breath be softer. Let the weight lift from your chest. Time will keep moving, but you don't have to chase it. Just rest now. Drift. You've always belonged to this moment, and it has always belonged to you.